Let's be honest, Valorant is a great game. That is, unless you want to have fun. A game that will punish you relentlessly just because you decided you want to have a game night with your mates. The once great tactical shooter quickly became a money-hungry slop, only catering to those who make a living out of Valorant, the pros, while the casual players have been left to perish in the dust. Casual players have been finding themselves logging in less, not out of anger or disdain, but because the game no longer feels inviting. The spark is gone, and as the player base shifts, one question continues to bubble up. Is it still possible to enjoy Valorant casually in 2025? In this video, we'll try and answer that very question. Way back when Valorant first came out on June 2nd, 2020, out of seemingly nowhere, gamers who liked FPS games all turned their heads towards it. Whether you were a hero shooter veteran from Overwatch or a marksman with pristine aim coming from Counter-Strike, the game had something for everyone. This was evident by the hundreds of thousands of people who came into the game to just give it a shot, but ended up staying for the long run. Within 2 years in 2022, Valorant garnered a massive player base of over 5 million gamers. However, that was when something suddenly changed with Riot. This was around the time when Valorant's competitive side saw a huge rise in popularity, and the game started to shift towards a different direction. Suddenly, the game started to feel like it was no longer the same for everyone, and as time went on, the issue kept getting worse. The issue is structural. Valorant's current design, updates, and overall direction cater almost exclusively to high-level, hyper-competitive play. It's a game built to shine on a tournament stage, with broadcast graphics, coordinated team strats, and highlight reel clutches. That's great for pros, but for everyone else, especially those with jobs, school, or limited time, the experience is starting to feel more like a chore than a game. Valorant's gameplay loop is intense and unforgiving. With the time to kill so blisteringly fast, casual players logging on to relax after work are more likely to get deleted in an instant, rather than enjoying a balanced back and forth between two teams. One side always seems to be ridiculously overpowered. The only way you can enjoy the game or stand a chance in winning is if you use the same 6 or 7 agents who are always the meta, and are used by pros. This is especially annoying considering the game has a total of 28 agents. You can't play whoever you want to based on how you feel. I mean, when a new agent is launched, if they aren't ridiculously overpowered like Taeho, players immediately lose interest in them because of how pointless it feels to play someone who's not the meta. Even the game's so-called casual modes don't offer much breathing room. Unrated, intended to be less sweaty, often feels indistinguishable from ranked because of the stale meta. Swift play, it shortens the match but doesn't lower the pressure. Each match feels like a tryout for a pro team. One misstep, and you're flamed, abandoned, or just utterly demoralized. Valorant is structured around performance. It reminds players to constantly aim better, rotate smarter, and use utility effectively. There's no room for downtime, no sandbox to mess around in, and no real low-stakes mode. Even the existing side modes like Spike Rush and Escalation are too shallow or chaotic to serve as true casual alternatives. Spike Rush has limited strategic value and quickly grows stale. Escalation can be fun, but the novelty wears off fast. Neither offers any real deviation from the game's core, tension-filled formula. The newest addition to these alternate game modes is Team Deathmatch. The mode was applauded when it first came out, as it finally gave players a different way to play the game. However, with the lack of constant updates to the game mode, it too is nothing but a glorified warm-up mode now. Riot could have kept the game fresh by giving the game new modes consistently to mess around in. Heck, the last one they added, TDM, came out back in 2023. We have not gotten any new kind of way to play the game since. Valorant doesn't even get limited time modes, which most online multiplayer games get. This leaves casual players with an unspoken ultimatum: conform to the grind or just stop playing. That grind isn't just about mechanics, it's also about adapting to constant meta shifts, learning agent updates, and understanding every new map. In a competitive environment, change is good, but when the only way to experience the game is by being constantly on top of those changes, it drains the fun out of the experience for anyone not trying to go pro. Additionally, the grind isn't even fun because Valorant doesn't reward you with anything for playing the game consistently. Even if you have the Battle Pass, the dull rewards rarely ever get any player excited. Now, let's consider what's missing: the variety. Valorant has yet to embrace community creativity in the way other games have. As YouTuber Eggwick points out in his video, games like CSGO or Halo 3 have thrived for decades because of community-made modes and maps. In CS, you can take a break from the grind while surfing, 1v1 arenas or custom zombie modes. Halo 3 had Forge mode, where custom game types like Griffball or Infection became legendary among players. Those were the kinds of experiences that kept people coming back. Not because they wanted to climb a ranked ladder, but because they want to have fun with friends. Valorant offers none of this. There's no Forge, no map editor, no way for the community to inject personality into the game. That choice of not enabling community-created content feels like a deliberate one. Riot has instead chosen to tightly control the content pipeline. This might help maintain competitive integrity, but it smothers creativity and spontaneity. Casual play thrives on flexibility. When a player can't experiment, can't try silly combinations, or can't create their own sandbox, the only available playstyle becomes the right one. And when the right one is ultra serious, there's nothing left for the people who just want to mess around and have fun. Then there's Riot's patch philosophy, which heavily favors pro feedback. Time and again, agents and weapons are nerfed or reworked based not on the casual experience, but on high-level tournament play. Chamber is a prime example. Back in 2022, when Chamber was at its peak, he was a menace in the pro scene, able to hold angles and secure kills with mechanical efficiency. Pros immediately began to complain about him, and Riot moved fast to tone him down. They nerfed him multiple times throughout 2022, but none of them satisfied the pro players. Finally, Riot decided to completely get rid of Chamber's viability in patch 5.12 in December 2022. Chamber has never climbed up the ranks since, and casual players were stripped away from a unique agent whose abilities relied on actual skills and not the 500th flash added to the game. This wasn't because he was ruining bronze lobbies, but because he was too powerful in the hands of professionals. If the comment section from our video on Chamber is any indication, people still want Chamber to be brought back to his former glory. The same happened with Astra. She was a staple in pro play after her 2021 release, offering global utility that let teams control the map like never before. But her complex kit never clicked with casual players, and once the meta shifted, Riot hit her with heavy nerfs in patch 4.04, reducing her stars, increasing cooldowns, and slowing down her entire kit. These changes didn't reflect issues in ranked, they were made because she was too strong in pro hands. As a result, Astra vanished from both competitive and casual play, sidelined not by player demand, but by pro-level balancing. Weapon balancing has followed the same trend. The Operator was once a dominant force across all ranks, but its nerfs were pushed not because it broke casual queues, but because it was overly oppressive in pro matches. The same logic applies to weapons like the Judge, Stinger, and Frenzy. Riot's balancing team has always prioritized a clean competitive scene, and while that's admirable in some ways, it leaves casual players feeling ignored, like collateral damage in an esports first war. This pattern extends beyond balance. Premier, the new competitive tournament mode, is another indicator of where Riot's focus lies. Instead of introducing new modes or casual features, they doubled down on giving aspiring pros a ladder to climb. It's competitive, but more extreme, more pressurizing, more structured, and more scheduling. The mode has zero appeal to someone looking to blow off steam on a weeknight. If competitive is a job, Premier is a second one. For casual players, there's no off-ramp or a low-pressure goofy mode. Even Apex Legends, for all of its flaws, brings in some wacky modes now and then for the player base to enjoy. Valorant has reached a point where it's alienating the very people who made it popular in the first place. Not the pros, the millions who logged in after work, played a few matches with friends, and fell in love with the game's core mechanics, but didn't want to live and breathe it. Those players are starting to drift away. Not loudly or with rage, just with fatigue. What sucks is it's not because Valorant isn't a well-made game, it absolutely is. Riot nailed the art, the sound design, the character variety, and the strategic complexity. What's missing is the breathing room, a place for players to exist in the game without always feeling like they're underperforming or wasting time, without always being punished for just wanting to have a little fun. At this point, Valorant's casual scene isn't dead, but it is hanging on by a thread. The bones are still strong, but the soul is slowly slipping away. However, Riot can still turn it around. They just have to start listening more to everyday players instead of just the competitive elite. And for the first time in almost 5 years, it feels like Riot might finally be bringing actual changes to Valorant. They even hinted at the release of a replay system, showing that they are finally listening. If you want to learn more about just how dominating Chamber was in the competitive scene, check out our full video breaking down the history of his rise and fall.